Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to my review of No Man's Sky. Couple of things here in the opening. First, that's right, I'm outside again. I figured this is a good time to start maybe doing some of these videos. It's starting to get really warm and really nice in Tennessee. It's pretty hot today, I'm not gonna lie. But my daughter is taking a nap, full disclosure, so I really wanted to do this video and I decided, why not take it outside? Secondly, I'm going to be talking a lot about the mainline story in No Man's Sky, so spoiler alert. If you have not played the story, if you've never played the game at all, anything like that, spoilers ahead. I will link the first video somehow. Maybe I'll make a short and link it. Either way, if you've never played No Man's Sky and you didn't know it even had a main story or anything like that, either A, go check out my videos. There are 17 of them, or B, just go figure it out on your own. Again, massive spoiler warning. So, like I said, I have played No Man's Sky. It had a main story, a mainline story that I did not know about from back when it first came out, which I think was 2017, which it was announced shortly after, like just not too long after me and my friend from the military had a conversation about how there should be a game where there's just non-stop exploration and just like it never ends, like an open world game that never ever ends. And maybe there were others like it before No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky really encapsulated what we were talking about. And it just felt right at the time. And I owned it back then. And back then I really feel like all there was and all I did was go to planets, explore, document, rename, stuff like that. I didn't really understand anything else. I was just excited to explore the universe, explore planets, an endless universe, as they always said. And I was really happy when it was last year or earlier this year that my wife surprised me by bringing out No Man's Sky from the GameStop we were at when I told her it was one of my favorite games ever. Now that was based off of a memory from 2017. So I did not just have to count that was 8 years ago. That was roughly 8 years ago that I first played this game. So I had a lot of anticipation, a lot of love already for a game I hadn't touched in at least 6 to 7 years. And I'll tell you right now, it held up. It was one of the games, this seems crooked, sorry. It's one of the games that held up really, really well as long as it's been going on. Bug got in my eye and you guys had to see that. Like, for example, they're still doing stuff. Like, all these years later, they're still updating the game and they're doing stuff with like fossils and stuff, which I'm super excited about because they're talking about paleontology, which, if you know anything about me. But the fact that all these years later they're still adding new stuff to the game, it almost gives off Minecraft vibes. Like, you get the game and as long as you have it, you can play it forever. And that's really what I got the game for. Now, when I started to get this stuff with the storyline with the character Artemis, I was like, oh, there's a story. And that's when I kind of decided, why don't I go ahead and bring this onto the channel? And like I said, here we are 17 videos later, and it all led to a massive finale where you had to make a huge decision, which I will talk about along the way. Again, one last spoiler warning because I'm about to get into the story. So you start exploring and you get this, I believe the first thing that happens is you get this transmission from this traveler, this iteration, whatever you want to call him, Artemis. Sorry, I really got sleeps in my eyes. Anyway, and he wants to meet you, he wants to talk to you, and pretty much he's like the base of this story at first, and you're just trying to find him. He seems like he's in trouble, and he seems like he needs your help, and then he like saves himself, and he wants to meet you, and all this stuff is happening. And along the way, you meet all kinds of creatures, like the Korvax, who are basically robots, the Gek, who are little alien lizard people, the Vy'keen, who are monsters. they're not monsters, but they're bigger alien creatures, where the Gek are like small creatures that are good at like technology. The Vy'keen are fighters, and they're big and they're muscular and they yell at you all the time. They grunt and groan and roar, as you found out throughout the series. Eventually you meet other iterations only through holograms, only through holographic communication. There's Artemis, there's Apollo, and then there's one called Null. Null is in all lowercase with 2 lines across, like he's a null and void, which I'm pretty sure he's like stuck in a void. They're all travelers. They all want to help you. You want to help them. Apollo at first doesn't seem all that trustworthy. I made that point in the first time I met him, and then in the last video as things were dwindling down, I even admitted, like, I didn't trust Apollo at first. And in my opinion, for good reason at first. At first, he kind of seems like he's trying to manipulate you, but I went along with it. Along the way, you also get to summon the space anomaly, which is basically the Death Star. I mean, it's a giant circle that you could definitely go, that's no moon. And you meet Nada and Polo. I call them Nada. They're iterations that are also there to help. They try to get you to explore the universe more, and they want you to just go do whatever, but you can always come aboard to get more nanites, to learn more stuff, to talk to them as you explore the universe. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. Of course, one of the main things you do in the game is you explore. You can hop. You're in a galaxy. I think I'm in the Euclid galaxy right now, and you can hop different systems. And when you hop the systems, you can land on planets. You can rename planets. You can discover all kinds of flora, fauna, materials. And it's really cool because you scan it and you get paid for it. I mean, that's obviously cool. And it's just, you know, I'm a huge space nerd. I've always been a huge space nerd. And that will never change. So this game really called to me with that. And you can land every system you go to. You can go to all the planets and discover everything. Now, sometimes you get to planets that have already been discovered or things that have already been discovered. And that was the cool thing about No Man's Sky is it was an online game for the most part, I think. Not like an online game, but when you play online, well, I think you're always online basically. And you run into these systems where, I'm so sorry, I decided to make a video in the early summer in Tennessee. I know it's only May, but trust me, it's basically summer in Tennessee. But anyway, you can go to these planets and stuff, and it'll say discovered by someone else, and the creatures and whatever. Sometimes the planet's been discovered, but the stuff on it hasn't. The planets, or the animals, the plants, the rocks, you know, the materials. And that's really cool, because it's like, well, they discovered this whole massive planet, but now I'm down here discovering everything else. And you can rename all of it. You can rename the animals, you can rename the plants, you can rename the materials, you rename your ship, you rename the entire planet. It's really cool, it's really fun. And it really does, it never ends. Which I did a lot of at first and before I started to really go with the flow of the game, of the story. And what it comes down to is there's this thing called the Atlas. Now, you don't really know much about it at first. It's just something that thinks itself a god, and I think the Korvax used to worship it, now they don't. And then there's these Sentinels. Now, the Sentinels are like drones, basically big drones. I don't know why I'm trying to scale them, but they're really big drones with these like circle lights, and they don't like it when you mess with the planet, when you like are doing what you're supposed to do, basically. Or if you break into a place, or if you attack certain things. There's parts of the story where the Sentinels have to attack you, because one of the kind of side missions with Apollo is infiltrating and what's the word I'm looking for? Hold on. I didn't even pause it. Investigating. Found it. Investigating the Sentinels, which I think was a title of one of my videos, actually. How did I forget that? And you find out a lot about it. You find out that there's apparently a universe where they more or less lost control and ended everything. And that's a dark thing to think about. Another dark thing that happens is when you find Artemis, he's dead. And when you die in No Man's Sky, like when I die, when your character dies, you can find this little diamond where the top is a little shorter than the bottom. And it's kind of the No Man's Sky logo, and it's got all your stuff in it. And that's kind of all Artemis has been reduced to, is the little No Man's Sky logo. But you don't have the heart to tell him he's dead, and you can make a decision. You can either let him die, or Nada gives you the option to put him into an AI world so that he can live on, more or less forever. I, of course, chose to let him live. I loved Artemis. Artemis was so cool. He was such a fun character to interact with, even though you never met him. You never met any of these characters. But you eventually meet the Atlas, and I think by this point you've already met him. I'm getting the story a little out of order. But the Atlas is basically, once again, a big No Man's Sky logo, but inside it's a giant red orb that talks to you in all caps. So he's probably either got, if he could talk, he has a big, deep, booming voice. That's what I assume anyway. And it turns out that, yeah, he kind of created everything. And he sees himself as the creator of the universe for good reason. And he sends you to planets you probably shouldn't be on. It's craziness. And you get to go through a couple of portals that are basically stargates. And that's another thing about this game, is you can see all the inspiration from Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate. It's really obvious that the people that made this game have a huge love for science fiction, and they put a lot of love into it. There's obvious stuff, in my opinion. Like I said, the Stargates, that's what they are. They're Stargates. In the game, they're called glyphs, but they're basically chevrons from Stargate. And then a lot of the downed freighters, the back ends, look like Star Destroyers from Star Wars. And overall, you can get the Star Trek vibe. I don't think I have to explain the Star Trek vibe from the game. But anyway, you go through these portals and stuff, and you're trying to meet Apollo, and near the end, you find out that you and Apollo are somehow in the same place, but you can't see each other. Null is a traveler who tries to get you to like do different things because he wants you to be a traveler as well. He keeps saying he's committed atrocities to be a traveler for the rest of his life, but he won't tell you what he's done. And in the end, you find out that what basically happens is that the Atlas resets. When you reset the Atlas, it resets the entire universe and everything starts over. And that was a huge revelation. Basically, you're living in a simulation because the Atlas controls all of it. And at this point in the story, you find out that you have to make a decision. You're going to go to the Galactic Center. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but it does end up being a decision. You go find the Atlas one last time after warping. You have to warp to different systems 16 times, get all 16 glyphs. The number 16 is seen multiple times throughout the game. You keep garbled messages with the number 16 in them, just repeated over and over and over again before either transmission suddenly end or clearly the transmission you're listening to, the people were killed. After you get to the Atlas for the last time, you go through the last Stargate. I'm going to call it Stargate, sorry. You are met with a decision. You can either leave or you can cry out. The options talking to the Atlas are always crazy. You can like scream, you can cry, you can laugh, you can do nothing, you can submit. But in this last part, I kept crying out, and every time I did, I would remember something else. I think you cry out 6 times, and he finally answers you, and you have to make a decision. You can either keep asking if there's another way, and there isn't. You can reset the Atlas, or you can refuse the Atlas. Now, I didn't know that was coming. I assumed it was just reset the universe. But I refused. And in refusing, I was sent out to another planet, and now I can kind of play the game infinitely. Now, I don't know what happens when you hit reset. I have not looked it up. I have asked you guys, the audience, if you want me to reset the universe, and I'm kind of waiting on that. So, overall, it is a brilliant fucking game. Okay, we're 13 minutes in. I can say the word fuck. I have a list of my favorite games. Anyone ever ask you, what are your favorite games? Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the Doom 2016 remake, Resident Evil 2, both the original and the remake, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Always on top of the list. Those 4, I think that was 4. Always way up there. And I have to say No Man's Sky is probably in the top 5 as well. How high up, I don't know, because I'm still playing it. The fact that it's an endless game kind of feels like cheating, because I didn't reset the universe, and if I had, I probably would have just started from the beginning and could have done it all again. So the fact that you can play this game forever, again, it feels like cheating, but it makes it more fun. And you could do so much, like I said, and there's all these side missions. There's so many side missions. I think I've got like 2 pages of side missions I could potentially do. And it helps you gain more stuff. Get like Atlas passes, which gets you into different places, and you can loot these little cylinders. It's so good. I know I'm just kind of explaining the game versus reviewing it, but I feel like it's important to talk about these things because this game was awesome. From beginning to end, the story was great. I never knew what was going to happen next. I got genuinely upset when I found out Artemis was dead, and I made the decision to put him in a universe. And then at the end of the game, Apollo is like, what's going to happen? And Artemis, I guess you tell him that he's, in a false world, but so are you. And then Null is screaming at you, trying to get you not to do it. I haven't decided if I'm glad or not that I didn't do it, but again, I think this was a brilliant game. I don't think you can fault it at all. It's hard to find faults. Sometimes when you have to build things, if I had to put one fault on it, sometimes building things is a gigantic pain in the ass. Putting together the glyphs, you needed a certain amount of like copper and dihydrogen and sodium, and I was almost done the final glyphs to go after the Atlas, and I ran out of copper, and I had to go off planet to another planet to mine copper. And I get it, that's part of the experience. That's why I say it's really an infallible game, because technically that could be a complaint, but I'm not really complaining. So that's it. That is my review of No Man's Sky. I know it was mostly me just kind of explaining the game, but because if I were just review it, it'd be really short. It's a fucking great game. And I cannot recommend it enough. Of course, I play it on PS4, but I'm pretty sure it's available on PS5. And I recommend it to everyone. There's literally no game out there like it, in my opinion. If you know a game like it, please leave a comment and let me know. That's it for now, I suppose. I'm going to try to release this the same day I beat the game. And if you haven't watched me play No Man's Sky, again, it is long. It is a 17 episode, I think a bug just flew right in front of the camera, series. All the videos are at least 45 minutes to an hour long. Some are even longer, like an hour and a half. I feel like, I don't know if I did an hour and a half No Man's Sky, but just be prepared. And don't forget, I just record on my phone, so the quality isn't perfect, but I implore you to go check those videos out. And of course, check out the finale. If you watch this video and then you're going to go watch the finale, just because I spoiled the ending doesn't change anything. It's really fun. It's really cool. And again, I cannot thank you guys enough for watching me play No Man's Sky, and I cannot recommend No Man's Sky enough. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Like I said, leave comments down below on what you want to see. If you want to see more No Man's Sky, let me know. I can always go play it again. I can always go around and do all the exploring for you guys. And as far as what's next for the channel, go watch my last channel update. That's what I'm going to keep saying, because at the very end of that last channel update video, titled Insert Cool Video Title, there's a clip that will tell you what's next. As far as the rest of this week, I have a special little video I'm going to release tomorrow that I'm very excited about, and we'll see what else I do. Saturday night's main event. Saturday night's main event is on Saturday, so you'll get a picks and predictions video and a review and all that crap. Saturday is also my birthday, and we'll get into that in due time. So until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JD. Happy exploring for all you travelers in No Man's Sky, and I will see you in the next one. Why the fuck did I salute?